The wind sighed through the towering trees, their leaves rustling in hushed, breathy voices. At first, it seemed like an ordinary sound, a trick of the wind perhaps, but listen closely, and the whispers became words, fragmented, familiar, almost human. A group of hikers stood at the forest's edge, their boots sinking slightly into the damp earth. They had found something untouched, something that wasn't on any map. A virgin woodland, thick and dark, where the trees murmured in voices eerily similar to their own. They hesitated. Then, curiosity overpowered caution, and so, they stepped into the whispering forest. Jason adjusted his backpack and glanced at his friends. Emma, Mark, and Lucas followed behind, their expressions a mix of excitement and unease. "Are we sure about this?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No one's ever mentioned this place before." "That's what makes it cool," Mark said with a grin. "An unexplored trail. We could be the first ones to document it." Lucas pulled out his GPS. That's the weird part. It's not on any satellite map. The trees loomed high above them, their trunks twisted, their branches interlocking like skeletal fingers. The deeper they walked, the denser the foliage became. The trail, once clear, seemed to fade behind them. And then, they heard it. A whisper. Not the wind. Not the rustling of leaves. A voice. It called Jason's name. He turned sharply. No one was there. Did you guys hear that?" Jason asked. Lucas frowned. "Hear what?" Another whisper. This time, it was Emma's voice, but she hadn't spoken. Emma went pale. "That sounded like me." Their breaths grew shallow. The trees whispered their names. As they ventured further, the whispering grew more distinct. At first, it mimicked them, repeating their words seconds after they spoke. But then, the voices began saying things they hadn't said at all. "Why did you come here?" "You shouldn't have entered. Leave before it wakes." Mark's bravado faded. "Okay, this is getting creepy." Lucas checked his GPS again. The screen flickered, then went black. "Guys, I think we're lost." A low, guttural sound rumbled from deep within the forest. Not human, not animal. Something ancient, something hungry. The hikers stood in silence, their breath visible in the damp, chilling air. The whispers around them grew louder, less like words, more like an incomprehensible chorus of voices, all muttering at once. The trees seemed to move when they weren't looking, their trunks twisting ever so slightly. "We need to get out of here," Emma whispered. Lucas checked his GPS again. Dead. His phone. No signal. Mark clenched his fists. "There's no way back. Is there?" Jason turned to look behind them. His stomach dropped. The trail was gone. The path they had walked minutes ago was now a tangled mess of roots and shadows. Something was watching them. Then the first scream came. The scream came from deep within the forest. Not human, not animal. It was something else entirely, something that should not exist. Jason's pulse pounded in his ears. "We need to move, now!" They ran. Branches clawed at their clothes, the whispers morphing into mocking laughter. The trees were not just whispering anymore. They were calling their names. Then ahead of them, the shadows shifted, and something stepped out from between the trees. A figure, tall, wrong, its limbs too long, too thin. Its face was missing, and yet it whispered in Jason's voice. Jason's breath came in short, ragged gasps. The faceless figure stood motionless, but its presence was suffocating. The whispers around them turned into distorted versions of their own voices, mimicking their words before they could even speak them. Emma grabbed Jason's arm. "We have to move! Now!" They turned and ran. But the forest had changed. The trees had moved. The path was gone. Everywhere they looked, the same twisted, faceless creatures lurked among the shadows, their whispers crawling into their minds. Then, Mark screamed. Lucas turned. Mark was gone. Vanished. Only his voice remained, whispering from the trees. "Mark!" Jason screamed, but there was no answer. Only his own voice, echoing back at him from the trees. The ground beneath them shook. Something was waking up. Emma grabbed Lucas's hand. "We need to find a way out." But the forest was alive now. The trees stretched their roots like grasping fingers, the ground split open, and a deep, inhuman growl echoed from beneath. Then, a voice spoke. Not from the trees, not from the creatures, from the earth itself. "You should not have come here." The ground collapsed, and they fell into the abyss. Jason, Emma, and Lucas plunged into the abyss, their screams swallowed by the darkness. They hit the ground hard. The impact left them dazed, their bodies aching from the fall. Emma groaned, trying to sit up. The ground beneath her was wet, not with water, with something warm, sticky. She didn't want to know what it was. Lucas flicked on his flashlight. The walls around them moved, not rock, flesh. They were inside something alive. And then the whispers returned, louder than ever. "You belong to the forest now." The realization hit them like ice. They weren't in a cave. They were inside the forest itself. The trees above weren't just trees. They were part of something ancient, something sentient. Lucas gasped. "It's feeding on us." The walls throbbed like a heartbeat. The ground pulsed beneath them. The entire space was alive, breathing, waiting. Emma clutched Jason's arm. "We have to get out before we become part of it." But the forest wasn't going to let them leave. Not now. Not ever. Jason, Emma, and Lucas could feel it now. The slow pull of the forest. The walls around them tightened, shifting like muscles contracting. The whispers became screams, echoing from all sides. Jason pressed his hands against the flesh-like walls, trying to find a way out. His fingers sank in. The wall was absorbing him. He jerked back in horror, his fingers now stained with dark liquid. Blood. Emma screamed. Lucas collapsed to his knees, his eyes wide in terror. His skin, it was changing. The veins beneath his skin had turned black, spreading like roots. He looked up, his voice a strangled whisper. "It's inside me." Emma grabbed Lucas's arm, pulling him to his feet. "No! We can fight this!" she cried. Lucas shook his head, his breath ragged. "It's too late." The forest was winning. The roots beneath them rose like grasping hands, wrapping around Lucas's legs. Jason grabbed him, pulling hard, but Lucas screamed. The veins had spread to his neck, his eyes turning black. And then, Lucas stopped struggling. His body went limp. And slowly, he began sinking into the ground. His whisper joined the forest. "Run." Lucas is gone. Jason and Emma stumbled backward, their breath ragged. Lucas was gone. The earth had swallowed him whole, his whisper still lingering in the air. "Run." But there was nowhere to run. The walls around them pulsed, closing in. The whispers grew deafening, a chorus of voices, some familiar, some ancient. Emma grabbed Jason's arm. "We have to find a way out." Jason's eyes were wide with terror. "There is no way out." Then, the trees shifted, and from the shadows, Lucas stepped out. But it wasn't Lucas anymore. His skin was pale, his veins black, his eyes hollow. His lips moved, but the voice that came out wasn't his. "Join us!" Emma screamed. This wasn't Lucas. This was something else wearing his skin. Jason pulled her back, his heart hammering in his chest. "Stay away from him!" Lucas, or whatever he had become, tilted his head, his expression blank. "There is no him. There is only the forest." Emma turned to Jason. "We have to remember who we are. If we forget our names, we'll become part of it." Jason's stomach twisted. "Then we fight." But the whispers. They were already forgetting their names. Jason and Emma clung to each other, their minds drowning in whispers. Lucas stood in front of them, or what remained of him. His voice was not his own, but a blend of hundreds of voices, all speaking at once. "You don't need names. You don't need memories. The forest will keep you." Emma's hands trembled. "Jason, don't listen. It's trying to make us forget." But Jason was already slipping. The whispers crawled into his skull, erasing pieces of his past. "Who am I?" Jason mumbled. Emma shook him violently. "You're Jason. You are not the forest. Lucas's mouth twisted into something not human. It's too late. You're already becoming one of us. The trees moved closer. Their bark split open, revealing screaming faces trapped inside, the faces of past victims. Emma refused to give up. She grabbed a sharp rock, her mind racing. Jason, you have to fight. We still exist. We are still human. Jason clutched his head, his thoughts slipping into the void. The trees reached for them, whispering their names, names that were already fading. Emma did the only thing she could think of. She slashed Jason's arm with the rock. Jason gasped in pain, and for a moment, just a moment, he remembered himself, his own blood, his own pain. Emma. She nodded, tears in her eyes. You're still here. We have to run, now. The forest screamed in rage. The trees lunged, and they ran. They ran through the forest, their legs burning. Behind them, the trees twisted and moved, their branches clawing at the air. Jason's head throbbed. The whispers were still inside him, trying to pull him back. Emma gritted her teeth. Don't listen. Just keep running. But the forest wouldn't let them go. The ground split open. Roots rose like snakes, grabbing Jason's ankles. Emma lunged forward, hacking at the roots with the sharp stone. Jason staggered free. And then, they saw it. The edge of the forest. The real world beyond the trees. They sprinted toward it. The whispers screamed. The forest roared. And just as the branches snapped forward to grab them, they broke free. Jason and Emma collapsed outside the tree line, gasping for breath. The whispers stopped. The forest stood still. But they knew the truth now. The whispering forest never lets go. Because deep inside, they could still hear Lucas whispering their names. And somewhere, the forest was waiting.